Hello and welcome. This is Laerun with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today we're going to take a look at Tome of Beasts 3 by Kobold Press and also the Tome of Lairs 3. Kind of go hand in hand. They're usually released around the same time. Really like Kobold Press's content. It's high quality. It has a lot of content. And I particularly know the person who does most of the conversions. So she was one of my first players in the Fantasy Grounds platform. And she does a pretty good job. She's grown a lot as a converter and also as a community member. When I first met her, she was pretty shy and she wasn't really doing a whole lot in regards to gaming, although she was an artist through and through. She liked to paint minis and stuff, so I invited her to play, and she became one of my first players. So now she's converting product for Kobold Press. I'm really proud of her. Anyway, so Kobold Press has released the Tome of Beasts. It's been out for a little bit. It is now out on Fantasy Grounds. I've provided links in the description at the end of the video, so if you're done and you're interested in picking this up, I provided some affiliate links which will take you directly to the Fantasy Grounds store, and you can purchase your content if you wish. I realize it's just following after the big sales, but one can never have too many monsters. So let's get into this. So we're going to cover the Tome of Beasts. We're going to talk about the content and also some of the surrounding content. There's also the original Tome of Beasts. There's Tome of Beasts 2. There's also the Creature Codex. So there's quite a few monster manual-like books that are out for this particular. This is DND5e, but they do release some stuff for Pathfinder. But we're talking about the DND5e content here, but I believe there are some of their content is published for other platforms. So what we're going to do is take a look at a little bit at the Tome of Beasts, the Tome of Beasts Lair. This is like little mini adventures, and then there is a physical content that you can pick up from the Kobold Press store. These are actually little cardboard pawns with stands. But I'm not going to really cover those, but I wanted to mention those because if you play physically, you can still use Fantasy Grounds as your library and a way to keep track of things. And then you can use your pawns at the table and such. So it's a pretty cool setup here. I think each one of the books or content is roughly $50. The Lairs is $30, but the book and the main book is $50, and then the pawns on the website for Kobold Press is like $40 or $45. So that's roughly the cost. These go on sale pretty often, so if that is something you can't afford right now or you already blew too much money during the holiday sale, you can always wait till it goes on sale. Smiteworks does a pretty good job providing content on sale, and I've seen brand new books go on sale as early as 3 weeks after the initial release. So I mean, it doesn't take long, and this content will be on sale. And usually save anywhere from 10 to 25%, depending on what the sale is. Or you can also wait till like New Year's or Christmas. Sometimes I'll have a sale for that. But we just are coming off the wake of the autumn sale that was on both Steam and the Fantasy Grounds store. A lot of really good discounts. I saw the licenses were like 50% off, so that's pretty cool. So anyways, getting back to the topic at hand. We're going to talk about the Tome of Beasts first. So I'm going to bring the reference manual, which is in Fantasy Grounds. So if you buy content in Fantasy Grounds and you have pulled in the content from doing an update, when you go to your library, you come over here to the right and you go to Modules. And as you can see, I already have them loaded. But if you want to activate anything in Fantasy Grounds, click the activation button. And you can do a search by name or a search by author on the bottom right. So if I wanted to do Kobold Press, I can just type that in on the bottom right and then hit enter. And it will show me all of my Kobold Press content if it has that title for the publisher in there. If you want to see what books you have loaded and filter that out, I'm going to first delete the search term. And I'm going to click on Load Filter. And this just shows the content that I actually have loaded in my library. So I do have some of the D&D content on here. I don't really need the DM's Guide, so I'm going to unload that. And I don't need the Monsters of the Multiverse Player's Guide right now. The only thing I might need is the player's handbook, because I do have a character that I'm going to run later to see how this content works and how it's been implemented. But as you can see, the creature codex is in here. The creature components Tome of Beasts. So there was a thing where you can harvest things. There's the original Tome of Beasts 2, Tome of Lairs 2. So there's a lot of content. And then you have the Tome of Heroes. And I mean, the stuff we're going to cover today is Tome of Beasts 3 and the Tome of Beasts 3 Lairs. So there's a lot of content for Kobold Press. So if you haven't checked out their stuff, it's worth a buy usually. And I fully support what they're doing. So the main thing here is the fact that when you purchase content, you can open up the modules. And once you've activated the books, you can look at your content. I'm going to look at the Tome of Beasts 3, which is down here on the bottom. Scrolling down here. When I click on that, the links on the right show up. You have direct links to content in the book. So these are kind of solid state here where you can't really alter these, but it's more for reading. But when you click on the reference manual in any of the official books, you generally get this reference manual pop up. And then you click on the left for all the links here, and it tells you how the book's laid out. It has alphabetical order of the creatures. And then on the bottom here, there's an appendices. So you have an appendix for all the different types of creatures that are in here. And then if you want to, you can look at the cover. So there's all kinds of really cool stuff that you will come across. But this is the cover for it. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's for nice content. And I like the cover a lot. I actually used it for that background image. But so when you buy content, you can use the reference manual like you would a PDF or a book. And on the bottom left, it's searchable. And then you have these arrow keys on the bottom of the reference manual frame in which you can advance the pages back and forth, just like you're turning pages in a book. And one thing I like about Kobold Press's content is they always have great artwork. I mean, they're right up there with Paizo, so they have a pretty good record for putting out good content. So this is just an idea of some of the things that you'll come across in the book. I don't want to give away everything just because it may take away some of the fun and the discovery that you and your players might have. So I just wanted to show you the actual way to navigate to get to the content. And we are going to focus on one creature just so we can see how it plays out. But this is basically how you load content and how you get to it in the Fantasy Grounds interface. So when you go to buy it from the store, either you buy it from the Kobold Press website and it gives you a code. And if you get a code, you can redeem it on the Fantasy Grounds website near the store drop down. And once you do that, it'll show up in your library. And then you have to update Fantasy Grounds, and you can manually do it without showing the red update button. And that'll pull in the content and any updates that come with it. So that's basically how you do that. And then they also have a kind of a supplemental, which is the Tome of Beasts Lairs 3. Again, there's a reference manual for it. When you click on it, you can look at some of this content. Here's the cover art for it. It's pretty cool. It's like this big slug-looking or kind of ugly underground slug-like snail creature. Maybe we'll take a look at that if it's in this book. But it has all of these adventures. There's like 3 adventures and like 20 little mini adventures in here. And they do come with maps and everything, so that's really cool. So we're going to actually take a look at one of these and see which one will fit. But you can see they have little adventure backgrounds. There's ways that you can incorporate these into your campaign if you're clever and you want to do that. Or you can use these for one-shots just to kind of play around with Fantasy Grounds or the rule set that you're playing. So each one of these has a hook, an adventure, and they're designed for like maybe 3 to 5 hours of play, depending on what your play style is. But I like the idea that not only are you getting monsters and traps and that sort of thing, but you're also getting a supplemental book to use the monsters in the context of adventure. So that's really helpful. And these are already pre-done, so a lot of the work's done for you. Generally, you don't have to do a ton of work on it, so that's a good thing. So there's just a way to go through this, and here's some first level content. and you go to second, and there's second level content. So they actually put this in order of level. So when you go through this, it goes through and it goes up to the first, 5 levels or so. So it goes, but then it cuts off. It starts changing where you get more adventures for 5 characters at level 3. So it kind of progresses as you go further into the book, which is pretty nice. I'd like to know what that creature is, so I can let's find out what that thing is. So I want to go to the Tome of Beasts, the actual book, and let's see what that monster is, that slug-looking thing. So if I go to, let's go to NPCs. Actually, I want to go to something like more like a reference. Okay, so these are all the images that comes with the content. So if you click on these, you can click on them and you'll see that the artwork will pop up for whatever it is that you're trying to look at. So these are all attached to the NPCs in one form or another, or in the content itself. Let's see what that thing is. Is it a creeper? Nope, that's an alpine creeper. Huh. So I'd like to know what that is. Let's see if I can find that thing. So let me go to the Tome of Beasts reference manual, and let me type snail or slug or something. So here's slug, ion slime. Here's a wood hag, light eater, sunflower sprite, and a lay wanderer. Ooh, look at this thing. Yeah, so that's pretty cool actually. So let's just instead of spending all our time looking for that one thing, let's just use this Tome of Lairs as it is, and let's see what they give us. So the Tome of Lairs 3 for the Tome of Beasts 3 is this content here. So this is more the reference material that you look at, you read, you can bookmark it, that sort of thing. You got the search functionality. And then you can go to the Fantasy Grounds component of it. So over here on the right, under Campaign, click on the Story Entries. And then when you are here, you can filter this out. So I want to filter this to the Tome of, or the Book of Lairs, or Tome of Lairs. And this gives you the Fantasy Grounds version of it. And what we'll do is we'll open up the cover art page and just kind of scroll through until we get to the actual module content. So that was the first chapter that I was going through. So that's the index and all that stuff. Here's the actual beginning of the Book of Lairs for this particular, let's see if that's the right one. I want to make sure. Okay, so Proudheart's Predator Problem, the Riverfront Rat Gang, Lair of the Fire Cult. Let's check that out. So here's the Lair of the Fire Cult. I'm going to close this background image. It's kind of obnoxious right now. And let's see, look. So if you had nothing planned, you could say, oh, Lair of the Fire Cult. Let's check it out. So you could take this, open this up, read the background, and get into the adventure. So apparently, a rich and powerful merchant named Solly Stefford asked the characters to look in on her son, who was placed in the care of Dr. Freus in a nearby city, or Fregus, however you want to. The young man, Jessup Stafford, saw and spoke to spirits, which urged him to sometimes do illegal things. Solly had her son placed with Dr. Fregus because she had heard the doctor could cure any illness. However, the last 2 times Solly tried to visit the institute, the staff told her that her son was in a delicate state and could not be seen at the moment. She offers them a total of 100 gold pieces to infiltrate the institute, locate her son, and ensure that he's safe. It gives you a brief overview of the actual place. Here there is a map, so there's the player map. So let's take a look at that. It's pretty nice maps. Their maps are decent. I mean, I've seen lots of other publishers. Their maps, I would say, on a scale of 7 to 10, I'd at least give it a 7. Or a scale of 1 to 10, I'd at least give it a 7. 7 or 8, it just depends on what your perception of good is. But I'm going to go ahead and zoom to fit. And then these rooms are bookmarked with these areas so that you can easily jump to whatever room that your players are in. So let's see what this is. So here's 1-1 or 1-10. This is 1-6. Let's see what we got here. Where do we actually start here? So there's the office, fungi room. Here's the smoke room. So let's go to where the lair of the fire cult. So then there's the DM map, which is essentially the same thing, but it's numbered with the physical number. So it's really not much different. And it won't have the line of sight and all that. And it's usually a lower quality map. So this is reference for the GM while you're researching it and studying and reading. The other map is for when you're actually playing. So in Fantasy Grounds, when you're actually going to start a session or do anything in here, and again, we're using the new layer, the Tome of Beasts layer 3. And usually I size this outside window roughly about the same orientation as the map, so this one's vertically oriented. I prefer horizontal, but these ones do take less room. And if you right-click on the map, go to View, and zoom to fit, it'll fit into that area, which is nice. So I'm going to keep that map over here. I already have a player set up, so this is Laerun, the ranger. He's a elven moon ranger for Moon Elf, and he already has all his stuff ready to go. So I have him on the combat tracker. His character sheet is right here where I can get to it, and it's not covering everything else. And then all of his actions, his spell slots, weapons are on this page. The only thing I have left to do is to fill in his ammo. So he has a dagger, a scimitar, and a longbow. So he's got 3 different weapons to choose from. He has an innate spell cantrip, which is minor illusion, so he can cast that whenever he wants. He has potion of healing in case. He has a favorite enemy, in which I haven't chose one yet, but I think I'm going to make it goblins or something like that. And then he has fighting style dueling. So if he's using the same weapon, if you're wielding a weapon in one hand and no other weapons, you gain a +2 to damage rolls. So that's what this is. So I'm going to go ahead and click that because that's something that's going to be on. But this only applies when you're using a melee weapon. So I'll go ahead and click on this if I'm going to be using my dagger or my scimitar. But if I'm using my bow, it's another situation. So we'll see. We'll put it on when we need to. So let's take a look at what's up front here. So when you come into this room, let's see what it says. It says this hall is supported by 6 stone columns. At the far end of the hall, a woman stands on a raised dais. She holds her hands to a young man standing on a stone. He seems unconscious even though he is standing. They are flanked by 2 burning orbs. So the woman is Dr. Regis, a cult fanatic. She's using her newly earned magical abilities to draw power out of Jessup. If Shimoto lives, it is hiding within one of the fire globes. So this is a development is on initiative count 20 on the second round of combat, and each round after that, this is an Agnabara creature codex, page 9, leaps from the fire orb. The first one engages in combat with PCs, defending Dr. Fregis to the best of its ability. All other Agnabara strike out of the hall, either up the stairs, the door that exits the Institute, and Dr. Fregis fights to keep the PCs away from Jessup while the Agnabaras are summoned. If the PC removes Jessup from the dais, the fire orb extinguishes, halting the flow of Agnabaras. Shimoto fights until Dr. Fregis is defeated. After that, it disappears into a fire orb. If the PCs kill Shimoto, both orbs immediately extinguish, halting the flow of Agnabaras. If Shimoto escapes, the PCs may encounter it again. So here's the encounter. So when you click on this, it brings up all of the participating NPCs. Personally, when I run these, I would put Dr. Fregis in a separate thing, and then I would separate it out a little bit. But they kind of did this, put it all together just for the sake of convenience, and it's much easier to just populate the combat tracker. And this Agnabara doesn't have the token loaded because I don't have the creature codex version of this. So let's take a look at that. So if I open this up, see there's no token here. That's probably because I don't have the version that comes directly out of the creature codex. So if you see a blank token, more than likely that's why. Let me see if I have it loaded. Because if that's the case, I would have thought it might have populated automatically, but I don't want to get too wrapped up on the little things. But nonetheless, there's your encounter. Once you have that, you hit the down arrow, and that sends the NPCs to the combat tracker. I'm gonna make the see NPC. Yeah, so these are just the NPCs. So this isn't the guy that's being abducted into the cult. And then once they're on the combat tracker, you can see where they're placed on the actual map. So if you go through here, there's where they're at on the map. So there's a fire orb and it's a hazard. So the fire orbs are considered a hazard. And then Shimoto must be a little fiend. He's a little devil. So he's got his own little token there. So they did actually populate with a generic token when I added it to the combat tracker. So I don't need to worry about it really. So that's basically how that works. And then you would place, of course, your party members on the map. So I'm going to drag a Laerun over there. So if you have more than one, you can drag these little helmets down here. But I'm going to drag and drop this on here. And now that I have that, you can see that Laerun's here, and then here's the bad guys. I want to unlock the map and see what we got going on here. So this one does not have line of sight active at this point. So they may not have added it to this. So if that's the case, you'd have to add these yourself. I'm not sure if this product is complete or not. I don't know, because I bought it off the Fantasy Grounds, or I got a key for it, and I haven't seen it available on the store yet. So I don't know what's going on. But nonetheless, usually they'll have line of sight on it, and then you use that for reference. But in this case, we're just kind of showing the product, so it's not that big of a deal. So in order to interact with tokens, you have to move these around and be able to you can use your arrow keys too, so that it moves every 5 feet. So you can do that too. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to make an attack. Let's see, I'm going to roll initiative. So for Laerun, just come over here and double click in the center. That'll roll his initiative. So it looks like the orbs go first. They don't really move, so I'm just going to skip through those and go to the Agnabar doesn't go yet until the 20th. Okay, so Laerun is looking around. He notices Phrygius there. He says, "What's going on in here? I heard that you were treating somebody in Jessup. Where is he? What's the matter?" And then you see Jessup there. He's standing there with he looks like he's in a daze. So I'm going to pull out my long blade there, my scimitar, and just kind of wait. So I'm going to hold my action there and see what happens. So Shimoto is not going to come out yet. He's going to wait until the next round, as it says here. It says on initiative count 20 on the second round of combat, on each round, leaps forth a fire orb. The Agnabaras come out. So I'll wait. So Phrygius says, "Stand back, or you will be. I will deal with you." So, and she summons a spiritual weapon, or maybe she's just going to cast a command spell on Laerun. So she says, "I want you to leave this place. You are not welcome here anymore." So she's going to command Laerun to essentially to get out of here. So I'm going to drag and drop the saving throw on to Laerun. And he succeeds. So for a moment, he's starting to listen to her, and he kind of shakes his head. And he goes, "I'm not doing anything of the sort." So he actually switches his weapon or he just waits patiently there to see what happens. But he noticed she cast a spell, so he thinks of that as a threat. So he can basically pull out his bow if he wants, but I think he's just gonna stand his ground. And if anything, he hasn't moved a whole lot, so I'm gonna move him back here so he has cover. He's gonna peek around the corner because he's concerned about his safety. So that's gonna be his turn essentially. The fire orbs to stay put. Now on the next on this count of 20, so I'm gonna type these in at 20, so that way I don't have to mess around with it. But on initiative count 20, that's when these things are going to come out. So Dr. Fregis is going to cast a inflict wounds. It's going to be at a -2 because Laerun has cover. So it's going to cast a spell, and she already used this. What was it? To use the command, which is a first level. And now she's going to use maybe she'll use hold person. Yeah, she's going to use hold person. So she can still see where he is. And she can see him peeking out around the corner. So I'm going to have her drag and drop this save throw on him. And this time he fails, so I'm going to drag the hold person effect. Effect hold person. So that's going to be essentially that's going to be her concentration check, and then I'm going to drag and drop the actual effect of paralyzed on him. So he's actually pretty much done. I mean, when these Agnabara things come out, they basically surround him, and she goes over there and essentially ties him up. So that would be the the end of that adventure really quick. So basically, she paralyzed him with a spell, and he failed to save. And now she's going to send her minions out. They're going to surround him with the Agnabaras, and then she's going to walk over there or kind of move over there and tie him up. Probably just tie him in a knot and gag him. So that would be her turn. So essentially, that's kind of how you use these things. You just pick one that fits your situation, or you can go through the entire book if you want. But what's kind of neat about Kobold Press is they do reference their own content. So if you own any of the previous modules, or if you have anything that is related to the content, you can load that as well, and you'll have reference to it because it's part of the actual content and not just a generic link. It looks like the Agnabara were in the creature codex. So if I go to my library, maybe I have that. So if I go to my assets, and then I go to, let's see, I want to go to actually my library and modules. Yeah, so there's the creature codex Lairs. Yeah, here's the creature codex. And then there is the NPCs. We'll go by alphabetical. And here's the Agnabara right here. See, these didn't have a token either, so that's probably what the thing is. But it just says it's a body in flames. It's a creature. Let's see what else it says. Oh, here's an actual image of it. Oh, how cool. I wish I would have made a token for that. I would just take its face and make a token out of it. That's pretty cool. So they're born into volcanoes and thermal vents. They're either temple servants or terrors. They're employed or treated as blessed creatures in temples of fire worship. Agnabaras bring great enthusiasm to such places, though the enthusiasm comes in the form of burning things. So they're a little crazy, but I think that's pretty cool. So these things would come out every so often, and then the high cult fanatic would come over and tie them up. So these things are kind of dangerous to have around, but they are pretty cool. So that one didn't have a token at the time. Creature Codex has been out for a while. I'm not sure what their policy was back then, but most things now have tokens, so you wouldn't have to worry about all of them. So if I go to the Tome of Beasts 3, and I open up the NPCs, I want to check this out, see if these have tokens. You would think they would. Otherwise, maybe it's a separate purchase. No, these have tokens. So that's good. Because I did buy a separate virtual tabletop token pack in case I want to make my own assets. That's something I usually do anyways if I can afford it. Is I'll buy the virtual tabletop maps and the tokens just in case I want to do my own thing. And here, this map, I'm not sure why it doesn't have line of sight. This is the player map, so I'm not sure what the situation is. But I'll write to Smiteworks and find out if this is even released yet. But nonetheless, this is kind of the things you'll get with most of the products that you buy on the Fantasy Grounds store. They usually come with tokens and maps, so you don't normally have to worry about that. Like I said earlier, it may be that the book hasn't been released fully into public, and maybe they're still working on the maps. But nonetheless, I have the content and I have the book. I think it's a pretty good buy. I mean, it's a little spendy, but not too bad. And I know that Kobold Press has a bundle thing, so if you buy all their content, you get a little bit of like a 10% discount or something like that. I don't remember the exact number. But you can also sort the appendix by the terrain. So this is something that's kind of new, to sort by terrain. And then you have by creature type, and then by CR level. And then it breaks it down by actual sections. So that's pretty nice. And then when you go to the NPC format in Fantasy Grounds, you have these sorting options up here. So you have by letter, by CR, and by type. So that's pretty cool. So that's basically what we have. We have this really cool artwork. There's a bunch of nice encounters for the Lairs. You kind of get kind of a lot of different things if you invest in this. What's really nice about this is that it's kind of themed and it has its own little has its own thing going on. So it's not a direct copy of Wizards of the Coast or one of the other publishers. So I like that it's unique and it's not something that is repeated all the time. Never have too many monsters. That's kind of what I'm trying to say there. The other thing is trying to get people to buy something after a big sale is difficult, but I myself picked this up right after the sale. I should have waited, but I didn't want to wait. I kind of wanted to see what was going to be available and what the content was, those sort of things. So I had Sirenscape playing in the background if you're hearing some noises in the background. And I made this overlay that we're using for the show. I'm using some of their assets and some of my own. And then this month in the Fantasy Grounds Academy, we're doing a couple classes. So we have a DM class, a couple map classes. We have a couple play to learn or some like intro classes on the schedule. And then it's going to be kind of mellow because of the holidays. Don't have a whole lot planned. I think next month or February, we're going to have a Travel or Two month. And we are looking for volunteers. So if you're somebody that knows content very well, but you're still kind of new to Fantasy Grounds, come on over. We'll give you a little training. The more you use it, and if you train people how to use it, you kind of learn it yourself. And that's kind of what I'm hoping is that the more you use it, and when you teach it, you kind of learn it yourself. So it's something that comes with the territory. It just comes with, learning how to use something. It's just like, learning, like Photoshop or some other a program that has a lot of options. So it's kind of up to you how you want to pace yourself. But normally we do 1 or 2 events a month for volunteers, and you have no obligation. Like I said, it is volunteer. There's no voluntold. We do occasionally ask for events, but doesn't necessarily mean you have to jump in on it. And we definitely need all the help we can get. We've been pretty mellow and quiet lately because of the holidays and post-COVID and such, but there have been some more people coming around because of this recent sale and the holidays, and people are starting to come indoors more. So come on over. We can use your help. We also like to have support in Europe and Australia in those time zones. So for Oceania and for UTC 0 to +3, all the way from Turkey to Gibraltar. we definitely cover those. We haven't had a lot of Russian or Middle Eastern people. We had people from India and Thailand and Israel and places like that, so we do get a little bit of that. So anyways, take care, everybody. You have a good week. Happy Friday